Well, residents in several pockets of Chennai are demanding stormwater drains. People in the Juhu Beach area and along the East Coast Road in Chennai are up in arms as the corporation is building a 350 crore stormwater drain project. They say this concrete structure is actually killing or destroying the natural aquifers along the beach, and this will destroy the natural recharging process and will cause irreparable damage to the areas here, they say. And with me, a group of residents who are campaigning against this. Thank you all very much for your time. One key reason why you oppose this?
So Sam, this area has a very good drainage through the sandy soils, and this recharges the aquifer. Even in 2015 when we had the big floods and things like that, this area did not have any stagnant water. And residents have pictures and evidence to show you this. I was involved in relief work which is all in the city. So on this side where the soil is sandy and the water is beautifully absorbed and recharges the aquifer, we don't need a project that takes this water, precious water of the city, and puts it into the sea.
What is your worry?
So it's not just a worry. You can see the way the drain is constructed. Any water here is precious. In Amma Jayalalitha's time itself, she was focused on rainwater harvesting. This project is taking rainwater and putting it into the sea. So what we want to do is to ensure that no water goes into the sea and every bit of water is absorbed into the soil here.
Right.
So that is our main request and demand almost.
Right. You have some concerns about the levels. On this side you have the structure being put up. This side it's free. Tell me about that.
The drain which you see here, the grate is at the same level as the road, whereas the land surrounding the road are lower. So all this land has to be first flooded before water will go into the stormwater drain. And we are building this big RCC drain just to collect this water.
Right.
So the whole area will be flooded, and that's our worry.
Right.
As residents, we don't want our area to be flooded.
So you don't think it's a good infrastructure to have?
No, we would think an open drain which allows the water to go into the ground is a much better solution.
What is your worry? What kind of damage you think you're worried about?
See, this is an 18.5 kilometer stretch from Kotivakam to Uttandi, but there are 27 outfalls onto the beach. This area needs sewage, but there is no sewage connections. So ultimately this also would be septic tanks would be connected to these stormwater drains. And all these would have their outfall onto the beach. The worry is it would carry with it all the dirt and filth of ECR along with any sewage which gets connected to it on the way. And there would be this outfall onto the beach affecting both the plant and animal species that live on the beach. And this would not be good for us in the long run.
Captain, what is your worry?
See, for the last 30 years, I've been watching the turtles. November, December, they come and lay the eggs on the beach. And you have people who are really conservative experts who collect the eggs because otherwise the stray dogs and others will kill them. They collect the eggs, they go and bury them in the sand. They have specified areas where that association does it. And it takes about 48 to 55 days for the eggs to hatch. And then you will find one by one each of those nests they hatch. These fishermen who are experts in that, they collect them, and when they hatch, we take out the small hatchlings and take them closer to the water. And you will find when they hear the sound of waves and the light, they all swim into the sea and they grow into big turtles and they come back again for nesting. This whole stretch, the east coast, all the way to Orissa is a olive ridley turtle nesting area.
And how do these stormwater drains you think could impact nesting of turtles?
You see, when you have all this contaminated water going, and you will find that the small hatchlings cannot survive in contaminated water. And that is what is going to happen.
The corporation says they're going to install technology there, German technology, to make sure the water will not get contaminated before it's pumped into the sea or into the sand there.
They will say that, but if you see what happens especially during storms, like even the recent one, what they call a cyclone. It was only a depression. But you will find that the waves came so close. So where they're going to put the outlets, they're all going to be clogged up by sand. Like if you look at even the outlets here, they're all pretty high. In the surrounding areas, when the flooding is there, because we don't have sewage connections, so they all have septic tanks.
That's right.
All that is going to flow into that, and turtle hatchlings and even turtle cannot survive in that. So, and we get lots of birds coming in during the winter months. None of the migratory birds will be able. If you go to Sholinganallur marsh now, you will see only a fraction of the birds.
Right.
So you will find that the ecosystem is completely going to be damaged with this. I've been living here for 23 years. I have never had floods in my area except closer to the beach for 3 days during the 2015 floods. Otherwise, I've never seen flooding here.
Right. And the corporation will say, come on, we are putting up the system in place, stormwater drain infrastructure in place to protect the city from floods.
So the word that the corporation uses is ISWD, Integrated Stormwater Management System. But if you look at their plans, it is not actually connected with anything else. Like our Juhu Beach layout, if you look at it, it's direct line from ECR directly to the beach. So when you say it will help the city, there is no connection for overflow from anywhere to flow here. This is just a project that takes water from ECR and this area and puts it into the sea. So these are terms that are used, but we have not seen anything real in terms of a connected plan that helps the city. We are concerned that the groundwater here helps the city when you have drought in summer times. That is more of a concern rather than saying for a few days of rain I'm going to try and take the water out.
Right. Do you, in that sense, believe it's a kind of a wrong priority? This should be done in areas where there is flooding now, areas which are low lying already.
Absolutely. The East Coast Road, which has a very sandy soil and absorbs all the rainfall, does not require this stormwater drain. They should think of doing this on more populated, more densely populated areas like on the west side of ECR. There are townships which require drainage, yes, but in ECR.
Why do you think the corporation is pushing this here?
I think that they have a big project and some funding for it. And because of that, they are going ahead trying to push it for their own reasons.
In spite of the NGT saying, have a committee, you can't, they haven't taken the environment clearance, they've not got the CRZ clearance. They are pushing it is because I suspect, and you know how much corruption is there in our country. Money has changed hands and they want to complete the project.
The corporation at the moment appears to be completely pushing it, and you have taken it to the National Green Tribunal. So what next?
We have been also trying to take it up with KFW as a multilateral development bank. They should have come to us with a detailed project report, public consultation, but they haven't done all that. Usually with these development banks, when there is a protest, they are supposed to stop work and solve the problem, but KFW has not bothered to do that. They don't seem to be bothered about the turtles on the beach, even though we have brought the whole issue up to them.
What's the next step? How do you plan to take it forward now? You've moved the NGT, the National Green Tribunal.
Correct. So the NGT has basically said that the coastal regulatory zone and the Ministry of Environment has to review this particular project, and if their permissions are not granted, given or taken, then they have to stop the work. So they have directed these authorities to take this action and stop the work. We are very confident that once this investigation starts, they will realize that the scientific community does not support this and they will stop the project, which is our kind of hope for what the NGT order entails.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. Joining us, environmentalist Nityanand Jairam. Thank you so much, Niti, for your time. The corporation's ongoing plan to build these stormwater drains along the East Coast Road, cutting across all the streets, ending right on the beach. As an environmentalist, what are your concerns? How do you look at that?
I think it is a ill-conceived proposal and a waste of money, a massive waste of money at a time when the corporation is reeling under severe budget deficits. Not only is it a waste of public money, it is also environmentally problematic. One, this is an area that does not need a solution. The sandy beaches and the sandy nature of that soil drains all the water. This is an area that is not prone to flooding and therefore should not have had any intervention there. Second, by doing this intervention, they are going to be conveying waters that need to take time to sink into the ground to be discharged into the sea. This is an aquifer recharge zone, and infrastructure to recharge the aquifers must be put in place, not infrastructure to drain the water into the sea. Third, the project does not have the legal clearance under CRZ, to Coastal Regulation Zone notification, and it will not get legal clearance because the project ends or empties the water right on top of the olive ridley turtle nesting site. Olive ridley turtles are an endangered species. They are threatened species and are protected under the Wildlife Protection Act. And all these things have been completely given a go by the corporation in their hurry to spend some money.
So, what could be the repercussion in your view?
The repercussions, I think, one, waste of money is a big repercussion. The second is the fact that you have unnecessary concrete lying in an area which should be kept as open as possible. And third, of course, the turtle nesting sites are likely to be harmed, and the success rate of hatchlings coming out is likely to be affected.
The corporation is saying this infrastructure is a must because many coastal zones also along the ECR were flooded recently.
We've had heavy rains, and there has been no flooding in the East Coast Road, on the eastern side of the East Coast Road. In the few places where there has been flooding, the culprit is usually the Greater Chennai Corporation, which has laid illegal roads like the Waterland Drive in Thiruvanmiyur or the Palavakkam Road. These are all illegal roads that have been laid complicit with the Greater Chennai Corporation, and these are the culprits. I think that water will only come for a few days or weeks in a year when there's heavy rains. The rest of the time you'll have sewage coming in, because that is the nature of Indian stormwater drains, especially ones that empty into the sea. We will have sewage streams into the sea. We will have these stormwater drains, ill-constructed, hurriedly constructed, poor quality, substandard material stormwater drains becoming garbage bins.
Joining us now, Mr. G. Prakash, the Commissioner of Greater Chennai. So, thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Residents along the East Coast Road, they say that these stormwater drains are not required in those areas because naturally the sand absorbs water. If you build these structures, they say it destroys the natural aquifers and could lead to other complications like destroying the turtle nesting areas and also leading to actually waterlogging now.
Sam, actually, we should understand the stormwater drain from an integrated perspective. We cannot see stormwater drains, in isolation. Stormwater drains are basically a very large network of channels crisscrossing the lengths and breadths of the city to take waters from the upper reaches and to gradually and logically drain it towards the lowest point, which will be either a river or a very big lake or a very big channel, or it might be the sea, which is the ultimate lowest point in any coastal area. Chennai is basically divided into 4 river basins: Kuvam, Adayar, Kusasthalayar and Kovalam. Kuvam and Adayar, thanks to the World Bank's funded TNSUDP project, we have successfully completed, and that is why most of the core cities are safe from the waterlogging and all those earlier nightmares the city used to face, and we all know that. We are all living here as well. The Kusasthalayar basin takes care, we have actually kick-started the process. The works will be started in a couple of weeks, and that will take care of the northern portion of Chennai, and the logical drain will be into the various channels and the Kusasthalayar river and all that. The thing that you are asking comes under the Kovalam basin. Kovalam basin forms part of the South Chennai. South Chennai has around 5 zones, and out of which this would be covering 3 full zones. See, most of the South Chennai has the area of the largest receptacle, the largest marshland in Pallikarnai that we had was around 25,000 hectares in the 1960s, and right now we are having only 800 hectares. A lot of it, of course, urbanization is the reason for all these things. That is another bigger issue that, which has to be looked at from a different dimension. So to tackle all those things, to all those water bodies that has disappeared over time, we have to come out with a lot of engineering solutions. Otherwise, depending upon the natural drain, If we think that the natural drain will take care of things, then we should not have touched the 25,000 hectares of marshland, or we should not have constructed many of these structures that we have constructed. Then that is a very long and deeper thing that is to be discussed. Coming to your question, it comes under the M3 package of the Kovalam is divided into M1 and M1, M2 and M3, and it is being funded by the German Development Bank or KfW. A lot of deliberations right from the initial stages, and it is going on from 2016. A lot of designs and cross verifications, wettings from various international agencies. Many consultants had gone through this, and they have come out with all these suggestions. And in this particular portion that you're talking about, this M3 portion, out of the total geographical area in which this project is coming up, 86% of the geographical area are constructed and as right now in on ground there as houses or commercial complexes or something like that. 12 to 13% is basically the roads and the network of roads. And all what we are talking about, the stormwater drains, would be constituting just 1% of the geographical area. After taking away 99% of the geographical area for many things, and this 1% would be really affecting the water percolation, water recharging. I don't think there is any logic to that, first of all. Secondly, as I was telling initially, the stormwater drain network should be seen in toto as an organic end-to-end infrastructure. The waters, say for instance, the farthest ward in Chennai is,
But you're not connecting it. You're only having ECR separately, each ending as an outfall or the beach.
So if you look at the network, we would be taking waters from some other point, and we'll be logically connecting this. This is not a very simple linear extension of these waters. If that is so, our engineers and the engineers of KfW and various other international consultants would not be coming up with such a solution. This is an integrated network. We will be sharing all those things in the public domain, and in fact we had a very, very large stakeholders meeting. We called all of them to our campus, and our chief engineer and his team.
Concerns the water, it will actually destroy the natural aquifers because you're putting concrete there. There will be no recharging available, and instead of harvesting water, you're pumping away the water into the sea.
No. That is a misunderstood part of this project. For every 30 meters, we have percolation pits, and since it is a sandy area, that will work very well. Our objective is to capture and harvest most of the rainwaters that we receive. That is the only freshwater source that in the world that we do get across the world. That is the pattern, and then after harvesting the maximum, whatever the soil couldn't absorb after reaching the saturation level.
There will be percolation ponds inside, is it?
Yeah. Every 30 meters once. In fact, that is what we have done in the
surface.
Yeah, I'm not talking in the length of the stormwater drains. For every 30 meters, we will be putting a percolation well which will go 10 to 12 feet or 15 feet deep, and water will first get filled in, it will get absorbed, and only when the soil reaches a saturation limit, and as contrary to the popular belief, sand will not have infinite absorption capacity. You must have a couple of days ago seen the Marina Beach. Marina Beach is a vast expanse of the sand, and if this theory, which is being portrayed right now, is true, then you should not be seeing a single drop of water on the marina or even on the Besant Nagar beaches. There water stands, and water, it takes 3-4 days to percolate and goes down. So there is a saturation limit for any kind of soil, even if it is sandy soil. There is nothing called infinite absorption capacity. There is nothing at all like that. So we have taken all the measures, and we have taken all the pains to incorporate the element of harvesting the rainwater in.
But we didn't find such percolation pots at all.
The project has just started here. We will have to execute it in full shape. In fact, we are adopting good technologies, not the normal technologies. We are using high density polyethylene materials where we can quickly assemble and disassemble, and the rainwater can easily go inside, and we have amply demonstrated in many of the temple tanks.
And another one is you haven't obtained the CRZ clearance there. It's a violation because it's coming close to the waterfront up to 150 meters from the sea?
No, all the necessary clearances we will be obtaining. In fact, this is a government project and it is being funded by the state government in a very big way, and all the regulatory clearances we will be obtaining. That is not at all a problem. And in fact, the areas where we are talking, in fact, there are hundreds and if not thousands of households which have been constructed in contravention of the coastal regulation zone, and there is a big litigation going around. And it's a funny thing that the opposition is coming from that particular area where almost all the buildings have been constructed in total disregard to law and all the statutes of this country. That we are taking that through the proper legal angle, and that we are addressing in a separate way. The problem is, the another thing I'll tell you, there are ample documentary evidences of late. I'm not talking about historical data or even the data of 2015, the big rain and the big floods that we experienced. All I am talking is the data that we have got in the recent rains, in this 2020 rains. Of course, we were blessed with 165% of the rainfall, normal northeast monsoon, more than 65% excess we got. That is good actually. And we have not, managed, the city did not come to a grinding halt. Right from the next day onwards, we started moving. In these areas where there is an opposition to this extent, of course, partly they don't understand the technicalities of the issue.
But they didn't face much of waterlogging at all.
We have ample evidences where so much of waterlogging was also there.
Yeah, but compared to what other parts of the city faced, for example, Chemmanjeri, Velachery, is it a question of wrong priority? You should be spending this money and infrastructure there.
Chemmanjeri and Velachery, of course, that also is coming under this Kovalam basin. We are addressing that. As I said, M1, M2 and M3, see, during those times, M3 got the first sanction, and therefore we had to go for the execution. M1 and M2 will be following. We will start the work in a couple of months. Incidentally, we had a meeting with the German Development Bank authorities, and we are going ahead. And in a couple of months, or maximum by 3 months, we will be hitting the ground.
Also concerns that this system could actually take away all the water, along with the dirt, paint, oil, and pollute the sea.
No, see, all these things are, unfounded. All these fears are unfounded without any logic. See, one can talk anything about any project. All these things are positive externalities that will increase the resilience of the city. A couple of weeks ago, I was meeting the media friends, and I was telling, once the Kosastaliyar basin, which we have actually started, and the southern Kovalam basin, which we are about to start the M1 and M2, when all these things are completed, it will take 2 to 2.5 years from now. I am sure Chennai will be the safest city in the entire country as far as rains and floods are concerned. No doubt about it. You can, you can vet it with any water expert or any engineering expert in the country. That is the amount of designs and that is the amount of analysis that had gone into all these things. Right. And we are actually seeing the benefits of the ISWD stormwater drains that we had constructed in between 2016 and 2018. The same logic and the same benefits the entire city should get. That is what we are aiming for. We are not, our aim is not to disturb a peaceful ecosystem. The objective of Greater Chennai Corporation is not to destroy an ecosystem, not to, kill the absorption potential of the soil. No urban local body would think like that. I mean, definitely not Greater Chennai Corporation. But the problem is, as I said, unless we have these stormwater drain networks, there is something called surface runoff coefficient. If it is an open ground, if it is an open beach, yes, whatever rain comes, we don't have to care. Everything, most of it will be absorbed. Or even if it stagnates, nobody is going to live there, so naturally it will go down. If it is an open field or an open agricultural field, also the same thing will happen. But here, in an urban area, most of the geographical area is either constructed as house or paved as a road or a platform, which means whatever the rains that fall will run off very quickly. The runoff coefficient will be more than 0.85, sometimes reaching 0.9 and 0.9293 as well. So there is no point in calling that logic that and as I said, just 1% of the land we are using for the stormwater drains.
Another concern they've expressed is the level of the stormwater drain is much higher than the ground level, which means only if there is so much of flooding, it will start working. Otherwise, it will continue to flood on the road.
See, all these levels, the levels are primarily, we give biblical importance to those levels because we know that levels make or break the efficiency of a stormwater drain, and everything, all these things have been vetted more than thrice, more than 4 times, more than 5 times by various technical authorities. We are extremely confident about it. Level is not a problem, percolation is not going to be a problem. The problem what the citizens living in those areas are apprehending has no basis, and in fact if they want any further technical explanation, our team at GCC is welcoming all of them. We are going to give all possible explanations to them, and we are going to enlighten them with this project.
One last question. When the National Green Tribunal has expressed concern, don't you think we should wait than pushing through so much of hurry?
Already, any project we operate on a timeline basis. It's an external funded project, and we have timelines of disbursement, we have targets of execution.
Especially when you haven't obtained the CRZ clearance.
We are in the process of obtaining the CRZ clearance, and there is a certain geographical area where we should obtain the CRZ clearance, and there is a certain geographical area where we need not. All these things are very well clearly defined in the statutes. We are a government agency, and we will not be violating the CRZ clearance and all that. We would be the last organization in the earth to do that. That is being addressed separately, and we are not going to be lax on that. The thing is, lot of constructions and lot of houses have come up in that particular area with utter disregard to coastal regulation zones or even our Town and Country Planning Act or the development regulations and all that. And most of those regulated constructions, illegal constructions, do actually hamper this water percolation or the turtle nestings and all that. We have got records of thousands of households being constructed in between the 0 and 200 meter tidal lines, which is in gross violation of all the coastal regulation zones. Well, things are like that. The amount of land that we use is just 1%. It's not going to give an impact at all. We have taken all necessary precautions, and the boundary conditions of our designs have ensured all these things, and 100% we are sure that it is eco-friendly. It is only going to enrich the living conditions of that particular place and increase the resilience.
Thank you so much for your time. That was Mr. Prakash, the Greater Chennai Corporation Commissioner, talking to us in Chennai with camera person Edwin. Sam Daniel, Find It TV.